Hey students, happy Saturday. I'm so glad that you joined us today for day 2, May 2nd of the Proverbs Project and Proverbs 2. I want to let you guys know our social media hashtag for this whole project is CP Proverbs Project. So if you want to post something that you've been learning or just your notes or anything like that, if you post it with the hashtag CP Proverbs Project, we will share that and we will just all be able to follow along together. I'm really excited for another day. Thank you for joining us if you're here this morning at 9 a.m. or if you're watching later on our YouTube channel. Let's get right into it. So Proverbs 2. My child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. Tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God. For the Lord grants wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the paths of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, just, and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you with joy. Wise choices will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. Wisdom will save you from evil people, from those whose words are twisted. These men turn from the right way to walk down dark paths. They take pleasure in doing wrong, and they enjoy the twisted ways of evil. Their actions are crooked, and their ways are wrong. Wisdom will save you from the immoral woman, from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman. She has abandoned her husband and ignores the covenant she made before God. Entering her house leads to death. It is the road to the grave. The man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the paths of life. So follow the steps of the good and stay on the paths of the righteous. For only the godly will live in the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be removed from the land, and the treacherous will be uprooted. My Siri activated in the middle of that, so I'm going to have to tell Siri to go away. All right, we're good. All right, so a couple of key things that I noticed in this passage. Going back to verse 1, it's interesting that he again uses the word treasure to talk about his commands. And he uses that again in verse 4. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Now the good news is, students, that's what we're doing right now. We are seeking after God's words and God's wisdom. We're getting up in the morning or we're clicking on a YouTube video that we don't have to so that we can find out more about Him. This is the process of treasuring His words, of studying them together as a youth group, as a church. Verse 2, it says, tune your ears to wisdom. I thought that was kind of an interesting picture because we live in an age of Bluetooth headphones. And the interesting thing is that if you are not tuned to the right device, you can't listen to that. So the picture here of tuning our ears to wisdom means like connecting to the right thing so that we are listening to the right thing. Students, there's a lot of things that we can tune our ears towards nowadays. We can tune it towards the news, towards what other people say about us or think about us. But what we need to have our ears tuned to, what we need to be connecting our Bluetooth to is God's wisdom and God's words, His words, and concentrating on that understanding. Verse 5 says, then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord. Again, that's that strange concept that we see over and over again, that fearing of the Lord. And again, that's not necessarily being afraid of God and afraid to approach His presence because, again, we have Jesus and we can boldly approach God because of what Jesus did on the cross. But the fear of the Lord can be understood as a respect and an understanding of who God is. And then later in that verse it says, and you will gain knowledge of God, for the Lord grants wisdom. Students, God is ready to give us wisdom. He's not like standing up here with all of his knowledge just tight fists and, well, if you want it, you're going to have to work for it. If we ask God for wisdom and if we study his word that he's already given to us, he wants to give us wisdom. So though it's hard to gain more knowledge in things, and it might not be that instantly we have all the wisdom in the world, that's not how it works. God is willing to give us freely of his wisdom. In verses 7 through 10, he kind of talks about the value again of wisdom, that wisdom is so valuable, that it's a treasure that we need to seek after, and that it just has such a high value. And then the key verse here, I think, is Proverbs 2:11. It says, wise choices will watch over you, understanding will keep you safe. There's a good incentive to have wisdom, students. You know, all the things that we can gain, like an upright life and good decisions, understanding will keep you safe, and wisdom will actually watch over you and keep you safe from things around you. And it's kind of laid out like three different benefits. End of verse 10, wisdom will fill you with joy. Then in verse 11, will keep you safe. And verse 12, will save you from evil people. Those are three benefits of wisdom. Down in verse 14, it says, they take pleasure in doing wrong and they enjoy the twisted ways of evil. Students, I want to encourage you to find your pleasure in things that are good and things that are wholesome. You can find pleasure in things of this world that are bad and are bad for other people and bad for you. But I want to encourage you, find your pleasure, find your recreation, find your hobbies and things that are good. Things that lead to life. Verse 16, it says, wisdom will save you. And I think that's really important because, when we think about relationships and we think about people that we shouldn't be in relationships with, wisdom will actually save you from them. It says it'll save you from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman. The same goes for you women with men who come and pressure you guys to do bad things. Wisdom will save you from those things. And if you guys value wisdom, then you'll be able to discern and find out those things and not be affected in the same way when those temptations come your way. Moving on to verse 18, we see how so serious that these matters are. It says, entering her house leads to death. It is the road to the grave. And then in verse 19, it uses the word doomed, which is just like a death toll, just dong. You are doomed if you follow that way of life, following the promiscuous woman or the promiscuous man and doing that. It's not good for you. Don't do it, he begs. And lastly, in verse 21, it says, those with integrity will remain in the land. The way I've heard integrity defined before, and it's stuck with me ever since, is doing the right thing when no one's watching. That's integrity. And we are called to have integrity in our lives. And at the end of verse 22, it says basically that evil leads to displacement, to uprooting. How do you kill a weed? You pull it up by its roots. Last summer when I moved here and I was working on the farm, one of the chores that we had to do was pulling out rye from fields. So if you're a farm kid, you know exactly what that is and how it stinks and how it's hot and it's June or July and it's toasty and you're sunburned and it's so hard to pull up all those roots. But all you have to do to kill the roots and kill the whole plant is pull it up and uproot it. So if you practice evil in your life, it says it will uproot you. And that will kill you. And rather, wisdom is what you leave in the ground and you grow and you water and you fertilize. That's wisdom in our life. And it ends up producing grain and producing fruit. And that's what I want for each one of our lives today. So students, thank you for joining us this morning, or if you're watching later, write down in the comments what you noticed about this passage, and we will see you on social media with the hashtag CP Proverbs Project. I love each one of you guys. Thank you for joining us today on May 2nd.